Indie Mogul.
Hey Indie Mogulers, Russell here. You know, some of the most common questions that we get to our email address and to the live show on Wednesdays come to us from the younger audience. Generally, kids between 12 and 14 years old who are saying, I want to be a filmmaker. What do I do? And that's such a broad question, you know? It's not just one big answer that says, here's what you do and now you're a filmmaker. So I came up with what I thought were the best 10 pieces of advice to give you if you're brand new and just starting out. If you're not brand new and if you have been doing this for a while, stick around to the end. I'm gonna need you later. There's not going to be as much B-roll for this one, so I've set up both cameras for what I'm calling Friday 101 Talks to the Kids. So hello to all you young people who want to be filmmakers one day. Here's the best piece of advice that I can give you. At number 1, don't rush things. One of the biggest issues that comes along with younger people who want to be filmmakers is that they want to be successful very quickly, and they just want to immediately be making videos that are huge hits, and it unfortunately doesn't work that way. Focus on getting good first before you focus on becoming successful, and that can take many years of experience. The first thing you want to do is learn how to tell a story well, and you need to accept that the first projects you do, and probably for the first few years, unless you're some sort of wonderkind, will probably not be that great. I was technically a filmmaker for about 7 or 8 years before I made anything that I felt was actually worth showing anybody outside of my friends and family. Second, figure out what your strength is. A lot of people get into this and they just want to do everything, and that's fine, and it's probably a good idea to do everything. You want to find out what you're good at. There's a lot more jobs in the filmmaking world than just being the director. You also could be a very good editor, and if that's the case, you'll be an asset to somebody who's a better director than you if that's not what your strong suit is. Same goes for being a good cinematographer, or a good first assistant director, which we'll go into in a future episode. They're one of the most important people on the set. And this leads into, don't be afraid to allow somebody else to compensate for your weaknesses. This is good because it allows you to get a good working relationship going with other people. And the best teams are ones where everybody complements each other's strengths and weaknesses. But maybe you're one of these kids who doesn't have a whole bunch of other people to help him out, or maybe you don't have anyone else to work on films with. That's why you're going to want to network as much as you can. The best way is to just find people in your area who also have an interest in filmmaking. But sometimes it's not as simple as just knowing people in the area, so you've got to get yourself out there. You can go online to find networking events. Hell, I found this one here in Nebraska. And if you can find it in Nebraska, you can probably find it anywhere. Hell, if you have to, start a club at your school. Then you might draw in people that you never would have met otherwise. Number 5, work with what you have. For my first videos, I didn't have any friends who wanted to be actors yet, so a lot of my original stuff was just myself and my cat. Rest in peace, Figaro. Remember, your first stuff is not going to be your masterpiece that gets your name out there and makes you world famous. You just want to practice this. This is an art. You want to get better at it, and the more you do it, regardless of how that's done, the better you will get. Number 6, and this is one a lot of people don't like to hear, be prepared to practice for many years, and that means doing it on your own and not getting any money for it. I had it in my head when I first started filmmaking that I was going to make a big movie by the time I was done with college, and I was going to be known for being the youngest director to ever get his name out. I don't know, whatever. It was stupid, but you know what? When you're that age, you tend to only think in the now and you don't think far ahead. I mean, the truth is, most of the young people that send in emails, again, they're 12 to 14 years old. After 10 years of experience, if they start when they're 14, they're only going to be 24. I didn't even really consider myself a responsible adult, or even a semi-responsible adult, until I was 25. So there's a lot of time there. Don't rush yourself. That going back to number 1. Number 7, accept constructive criticism. And I know I bring this up a lot on Mogul or Made, but that's because it's very important. It's all well and good when you're first starting out and the only people watching your stuff is your friends and family, but eventually you're going to want to reach a larger audience. And you may find that the things that people who know you personally enjoy, people who have no vested interest in you, really don't care for. This can be very hard to accept, and it can be a huge hit to your ego. I know I've said in the past you shouldn't respond to trolls, but know the difference between trolls and constructive criticism, because sometimes that constructive criticism is going to be really bad. But you need to take whatever you can from it and improve yourself. Always be improving. Now this next one is a whole different issue that has come into me quite a few times, and actually recently was the thing that inspired me to do this episode. I've gotten countless requests for various Indiegogo page, Kickstarters, and all they want is money so that they can get the equipment to start filmmaking. But keep your number something reasonable. Don't ask for thousands of dollars of equipment. Get any camera and go. Anything at all. This was my first camera, the Canon ES300. It's not great. Even by mid-90s standards, it wasn't great. And I was never going to have anything happen for me with anything shot with that camera. But that's okay, because I got better on it. I learned some of the most important lessons I learned about editing, camera operation, and I used that for the first 3 years that I was making movies. Cameras that you can now get for $200 or less, pocket cameras that are less than $100, are still good enough to start out with. You're in no rush. You have nobody to compete with at that age. You may feel like you do if you have friends who have better cameras, but remember, if you can learn how to use a camera well that is cheap and doesn't look as good, you, in the long run, will be better than the person who spends a lot more money but doesn't know what the hell they're doing. And finally, and this is where the rest of you who have been doing this for a while come in, listen to your elders. Now, I clearly have only given what I think is the best advice for young people, but if you out there have been doing this for a while, tell the younger audience in the comments below what you think is the most important thing for them to know if they want to be a filmmaker or are just starting out. And if you are one of those younger people, just listen to everyone. Listen to Hollywood people. Go find commentaries for certain movies you like. Find out how they were made. Listen to Kevin Smith talk about the movie industry, because he has had a lot of good stuff put out on DVD, talking about his experiences in a way that more people can relate to. Listen to people like myself who have a job doing video, but, are still plying their trade, hoping for some sort of major success. Or listen to people who still have day jobs, but have been trying to become a filmmaker for many, many years and still haven't had a big break. They still will have a lot to tell you, and you will still have a lot to learn from them. While I was editing this episode, I realized that 2 of my points kind of turned into 1, and since I said that I was going to have 10 pieces of advice, I'll leave you with something a little more upbeat than some of the other ones have been. First day at film school, what they said to me was that, from now on, you are a filmmaker. Once you've done anything at all, even the slightest thing, even one of those 30-second special effects tests that I get sent so often from Mogler Made, once you've made one of those and you're actively pursuing this, you're a filmmaker. You can officially say that. And I found that inspiring, and that has stayed with me since, so remember that. Even if you've done the slightest thing, or are just getting into it, or are just about to start, once you begin, you are a filmmaker. That's a much nicer note to go out on. That's all from me this week. Again, if you have a lot of experience, share it with us in the comments below. Sorry for the lack of B-roll this week, but I hope the 2-camera thing works for you. If you like this, let me know. Maybe I'll do it more often in the future. Yeah, this is fun.